All right, Michael Cain. How you going,
Jye,
mate?
good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit here and have a conversation with me.
Always for you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Well, you did it for me recently.
I did.
Yeah.
How was that episode?
Yeah, mate. It's one of the best out of the 9 we've done so far.
I'm sure you say it to everyone.
No, it was really good.
How's your podcast going?
Yeah, really good. It's almost like I'm trying to release one every Monday, so it's sort of hard because you want to get in front. I'd like to have like always 2 in the can ready in case someone pulls out and you've got something. So it was only once we fell behind, but we got back together, and so try to do one on a weekend and maybe one midweek all the time. But it really depends on everyone's schedules, and everyone's different.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but like sitting down doing this is just fun and easy. It's finding the guests.
Yeah.
Finding the guest, people that are willing to share their story, people that have good stories, I guess.
And I think that's the good thing about like your podcast as well. It's about people. It's about stories. I mean, when someone told me you should be doing a podcast, at the time I hated podcasts because it was like, to me, how many health and wellness podcasts can you listen to? Those genres where you can only listen to so many where you go, enough is enough, But with interesting people, incredible lives, it's always someone different. So you don't know what you're going to get, you know. So and that's what I love about it, And sometimes when people get in the chair, they either open up, and I think they know what they're in for. So it's like once you start delving deeper, and I do a bit of research on the person. So I listen to a lot of interviews they've done in the past. But I take the questions, so I'm answering the question that was already answered on the podcast I've listened to, but I delve deeper behind that answer, just to make it more interesting.
Where did you hear that odd unboxing? Because I was so shocked when you brought that up.
I think, were you on a podcast and you said that? I'm positive. I heard it somewhere.
I don't.
It was it was part of the research on you, and it come up, and I went, "Wow, there's a good little angle."
Like all my friends know that, obviously, but it's something I don't really talk about much.
Yeah.
I mean, every Sunday I'm watching the fights. Love the UFC, like live for the fights.
Yeah.
But no, I don't talk about it much.
Well, I had a drag queen on last night, and he couldn't believe.
Was
some
it
of the
Timberlina?
stuff. No, Wayne Rogers.
Okay.
So he bought Lizottes a few years ago, and now it's Flamingos Live over at Lambton. But some of the stuff, I was pulling out some old pictures of him when he grew up in Tamworth, and he was like, "Where do you get these photos from?" And I said, "Don't you worry about that, But yeah, interesting because again, he opened up the fact that he was a gay man living a heterosexual life up until the age of 25, married, and he knew he was gay all that time, and came out in Tamworth in the 80s, which wouldn't have been an easy thing to do.
Not at all.
And but I was surprised because again I didn't know that he just blurted it out, and so it was almost like something he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that like when you give people that platform, how much they actually open up or like want to share stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like we even went into the LGBTQ community, and I thought being he's a female impersonator. That's what he wants to be called, even though everyone thinks he's a drag queen. But he's saying that he's a gay man, and this is his act. A little bit like Barry Humphries was a straight man, and Edna was his act. So he's not saying that he's a drag queen, because a lot of drag queens, it's a lifestyle for him. This is not his lifestyle. It's his act up on the boards. But yeah, I sort of delved into that, and I thought he'd be pro LGBT, and he was like, no, they've been dancing on the gay and lesbian coattails. We're the ones that paved the way, and these people didn't have to live in Tamworth, copping the abuse and criticism. So it was really that shocked me, the answer.
Yeah,
that, when you think of it.
Yeah, wow. And what else you got going on? Mate, you sound like you're a jack of all trades. You've kind of done it all, haven't you?
I'm back to being a carpet layer.
Yeah.
I was a carpet layer for 21 years, and jumped out of it, jumped through a portal, and a bit like Outlander. jumped into a portal, become a journalist for 12 years, and then
Did you like it?
What, the journalism?
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I just pushed myself to the limits. It was almost like the I don't know, the least Michael Cain thing I could do, and it sort of happened off by chance. I knew there was something in me, even I'm mid-30s, and I'm going, what? There's something I need, something. I'm better than this, Not there's not anything wrong being a carpet layer, but I was just bored. And it's funny, I went to a house in New Lambton and New Lambton Heights. There was an old gentleman that answered the door, and I was going to be there for the whole day. And he says, I'll give you a hand. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, because old people can just talk your ear off, and he's like, I just want to work. But this guy was interesting, and he actually owned, he was old Mr. Neil. There's an accountancy firm in Newcastle called Cutcher and Neil. And this was the guy who started, old Mr. Neil. And we talked about everything from the start to the finish. We talked politics, we sport, everything. We covered everything. At the end of the day, he looked at me and said, what are you doing this for? I said, what do you mean? He said, carpet laying. And I said, well, that's all I can do. It's all I know. He said, no. After today, you proved that you are much more than this. And I said, right, well, what are you saying? He said, well, look, I was an accountant for all my life, and I still am. I still go in there and potter around. He said, but how old are you? I said, well, at the time I was 35. I said, and he said, look, if someone told me this at the age of 35, I probably wouldn't have been an accountant. I would change tact. I said, what are you trying to get to, Mr. Neil? And he looked at me and said, I'm telling you this now. And it was almost like that rolled up wet paper, newspaper, whacked me in the head. And I went, wow, I think there is something. And funnily enough, I found journalism.
Going from being a carpet layer to journalism, what was that transition like?
Really hard, because virtually, it got to the point where I got stopped in the street by a guy who owned a modelling agency. There was Models and Actors, which I think still goes today. And he said, first thing he said, how old are you? And I said, I'm 33. And this is when I was like, God, about 15 kilos lighter, I was a lot more muscly than, and I had a singlet on, so probably that was the thing that he saw. And he said, and I said, 35. He said, well, you're that perfect look that we want, because there's lots of land releases going on, and there's TV commercials, print stuff. And I said, no, I don't think that's for me. And he said, there's good money in it. I went, okay, I'm prepared to listen. And I don't know what made me do it, but I walked through the doors the next day, and his partner, she, she signed me up, and I thought, this is going to be bullshit. They're just signing me up, and
Think nothing will come from it?
But I didn't even get home, and I got a phone call. They said, you got a modelling job down at some golf course in Wyong tomorrow. They're trying to open a land release on the course, and we need you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So next day I got there, and so we did some stuff on the course, and also in the houses that they built. I said to the other guy that was doing it with us, I said, this be all right, isn't it? Like, get a couple of $100 for this, He went, no, we'll get about $1,000 each for this. And I went, it was not even a full day's work, just for smiling. And it just went from there. We started doing, probably sometimes you get 2 or 3 days a week. Sometimes you don't go. It might be a month before you get a job, but it was just fun. It was something different, being an extra on a movie site, on a movie set. I was in a scene with Jack Thompson. There's a show that was called Bastard Boys. It was about the dockers dispute down the wharf. That's the wharfs dispute. Yeah. Back when John Howard was the Prime Minister, and so I was a wharfie, But it was just something different. It was just something fun to get away from the mundane life of being a tradesman. And
so this was before you went into journalism.
Yeah. So then they called us up once and said, "Have you done any presenting work?" I went, "No, of course not." They said, "Well, you should go and do a course, because we're getting lots of work for presenting. There's lots of mine sites opening all around Australia, and we need." OH&S videos, when you turn up to a site, you've got to do an induction. So there's an actor going, you've got to make sure you wear your hard hat, your safety vest, your boots, blah, blah, blah. So I did this a presenting course in Sydney, which again was Monday nights and all day Saturdays. It was in Alexandria, so it was hard because I had my own business, laying carpet, so I had to leave site to do that and juggling things. But at the end of this course, you had to do like a little project, and you could do it on anything, I decided to do it on pretty much like a sports journalist doing a story on a sportsman. So I did it on an A-League referee or something like that. And so I packaged it up together, did a piece to camera in it, presented it, and the guy running the course said to me, "Mate, this is really good." I said, "Oh, really? Thank you." He said, No. Like, that's like, you could go into a newsroom." And I went, "Oh, well, maybe I can do that now." So I sort of morphed from that to thinking that I could do that. And at the time, I look back now and go, what an idiot, as if I had no experience whatsoever, apart from this little show reel from this course I did. But somehow I got someone to look at it and show some faith. And that's pretty much the way it's been the whole time, is finding someone in every organisation that can just show that little bit of faith to give you a go.
When you, like the guy that had faith in you when you were laying your carpet that day and you had that conversation, and then you're like, okay, I might take a step into the journalism space.
Yeah.
Did you have to fight some internal like dialogue where it's like, oh, can I do this or whatnot, or the opinion of other people? Like what was that? Because I know a lot of people that are in these careers and I think they really want to take a shift and go down a new path, but they just, something's stopping them.
Well, especially with the modelling, because, there's that stigma, I never told anyone. And because I felt like I was having, people would look at me like I'm having this midlife crisis. It's like, how old are you? And you want to do this, But I wanted to do it. So I never really told anyone, even to the point where I was an extra on a movie called The Last Winter. I think it was Matt Nable was the director, and it was about rugby league, and I think Matt Johns and a few other NRL players was in it. And so I went down to Henson Park, and I was in the crowd, like, you turn up in your blue, because it was a Newtown, pretty much a Newtown movie. And so I wore like a blue, polo shirt, and Matt Nable was walking through, and he went, "You, come with me." And okay. So I went into the grandstand, and he said, "Throw this on." It was like this Newtown clobber, like the shorts, the shirt, the football boots, like some electrical tape around my head. And a mate of mine called me and said, "Michael, what are you doing?" And I hadn't told him, and I looked myself up and down and went, "Mate, you wouldn't believe it if I tried to tell you, and did the scene, and next day back on a work site." But it's funny because even when I got to Channel 10, wherever I went, I'd never ever tell anyone that I was a carpet layer for 21 years.
Why?
Because there's a respect thing where I didn't even go to university to do any degree, which is another thing where everyone else has gone to university and they've done the hard yards, So if I turned up in the first 5 minutes and said, I was a tradesman, I've only been in this for 5 minutes, they'd look at you, they'd look down at you. So I never told them until I got that respect from them, and then told them.
Yeah.
And then they go, "Wow, that's cool." But I know that wouldn't have been the reaction if I told them at the start.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing now, it's how things have turned over. Even now I can go into someone's house, and not that I unless someone asks or recognises me, I'll tell them. But I would never walk in and go, I've been a journalist for the last 12 years. I just came back into laying carpet. All of a sudden they'd be going, "Is this guy good enough to do my carpet?"
Yeah. It's gone full circle.
It's like the other way around now. So I don't want to tell I don't want to tell anyone that I did that. And again, unless they ask, I won't.
What made you want to go back to carpet laying? Did you like journalism?
Yeah, I loved it. Well, I pushed some barriers while I was there too. Which we may go into. I made a documentary series and did a few different things while I was in the newsrooms.
Is that the Passionate Players?
Yeah, the Passionate Players. So. But I just got to the point where television news now at 6 o'clock, it's so redundant. Like when you look at it the way things are now, you can get on your get on your mobile phone, you look and see what's going on at midday. You don't have to wait for Sandra Sully or whoever's reading the news at 6 o'clock.
Instant.
And so when you look at it now, I told my 13-year-old daughter the same thing, because she asked, what did you get out of it? And I said, well, back in the day, there used to be a thing called a television. It used to look like a box. And everyone, or the whole family, congregated around this box at night. And it was a portal, and everyone got to see what happened everywhere in the world. That was your only form of what happened. Now, like I just said, you can get on a phone. So this form of watching news at 6 o'clock is so archaic. It's like dinosaurs still roaming the earth, ready to be extinct. Now, it hasn't been extinct yet.
But do you think it will ever be extinct? Because let's just say, for example, like war journalism, or even like to the point of like there's a flood. Someone's got to send that news back to.
Well, I know some people I know a mate who just got rid of his television. He just watches YouTube. He gets all his information from YouTube. And look, at the moment, television stations have to have news, because if you don't have a news bulletin, you lose your license. It's part of it. But things change, laws change, and like I say again, the ratings are going down everywhere. Channel 9, 7, everywhere. News is going down and down and down. Back in the day, I mean, Brian Henderson, who used to read the news for Channel 9 in the 80s and early 90s. He was on $1 million a year.
Really?
Reading the Channel 9 news. It was a plum gig. There wouldn't be one newsreader that'd be on $1 million these days.
You don't reckon like Peter Overton or like these big ones down in Sydney? And
well, I think that's the thing too, is that you want to get your ounce of flesh out of them. So it's like Carl Stefanovic. I mean,
surely he'd be on over $1 million.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, he does so much stuff. You know, he's not just on the Today Show. And it's like, even though that hoo-ha happened with Lisa Wilkinson with a pay dispute, what people don't realise, I mean, Lisa's a great journalist as well. That's all she did when she was at Channel 9. She just did the Today Show. At 9 o'clock, she went home. Carl on the Today Show, next thing you know, Carl, we need you to do a special on 60 Minutes. Or there's a flood in North Queensland, can you go there? Or we want to do a special on this, or do this, do that. Channel 9 owned him wholly and solely, and that's why he was on the big bucks. Lisa was, not happy that she wasn't on the same. It was like, well, you're not doing the same. But people could only see what she was doing there. And she had things on the side like, the Huffington Post and all the other things that probably amounted to just as much as what Carl was doing. Yeah. It's a tough gig. Anything live is a tough gig. And to do, 3 hours of morning breakfast television, any television, even the morning shows that used to go for 3 hours, that's a tough grind to constantly do something different all the time. You're always thinking.
What's a lot like behind the scenes? What's going on? Because like they wouldn't be writing half them scripts on the teleprompters.
No.
It's like at the start, like you got to be like on the ground researching, finding the story, going and getting it. Like, and when does that shift? And then someone else, like you're just trusting your producers, and you're just
when you're doing news, and this is I was probably at the cheapest station for Channel 10 compared to 7 and 9. So everything was the budget cuts, and there was always redundancies and stuff like that, and everyone was always worried about the next round of redundancies. And because when I got to Channel 10, it was like, I said, are their jobs secure? And they went, oh, absolutely. They can't cut any more fat off the bone. But we went, I think it was the 5 years I was there, I think it was like 3 rounds of redundancies. It was always the cameramen or editors and stuff. It was there was no journalists that used to lose their job. But you were always, because I was in the sport for most of it, you had to write your own intros, you had to write your own everything, and even putting the supers up, like you had to do it yourself. Where the news journalists, they always had a producer to help produce the story. Where the sports guys had to do it on your Pat Malone. And that was a bit of an extra skill. And I had a conversation with a news journalist there once, and I just said, there's always that thought in a newsroom that the news journalists look down to the sports journalists. They feel like they're a bit better because it's only sport. Anyone can do sport. And I go, no. I said, the sports journalists are a lot more skilled. And they go, what do you mean? And I said, well, you've got to do I had to do a rugby league story every day. I was the NRL reporter. I said, it's like it's like reinventing the wheel every day, because you can do the same type of story all the time. You have to find that different angle, and it's hard sometimes. Where in news, it's anything. Like news is anything.
It's changing.
You're doing something different every day.
Yeah.
It's more of a skill to try and, again, reinvent the wheel than trying to mould the cookie cutter a different way, than knowing that you open slather in the news department where you can do anything you want or whatever's breaking or stuff like that.
Did you enjoy that challenge?
At first I did, but after a while it does get boring. It's like everything. Over time, it's almost like you want to challenge yourself. And then, when I got to Channel 10 from NBN News here, it felt like you're sort of going from Premier League to Champions League.
Yeah.
Here in Newcastle, you could do an average story and get away with it. Mm-hmm. Not that I ever did. I might always try to do the best story, but sometimes you come home and go, oh, I could have done better there. In Sydney, you can't do that. You've got to be on your game. It's almost like you've got to be on your game, because it's like every story, there's like 6 sets of eyeballs in the producer's booth critiquing it. And it's like everything.
And so what happens? Like if you just don't do a good job, do you just...
Well, it's like everything. It's
on the redundancy list?
No. Well, it's a couple of things. One, they're just looking at different ways you could have done it. And I always say, no news is good news. If they come to approach you, obviously, you never get a pat on the back. It's like any sort of job you got. But it was hard sometimes, because again, you're up against 9 and 7, and it's like you're up against Danny Weidler at Channel 9, and it's like Channel 9 own at the NRL. Mm-hmm. They're the rights holders, so of course he's going to get the exclusive interviews. They're paying for it. And so our news would go to air, from 5 o'clock, and the Channel 9 news would go at 6. So they'd all, they watch all the news, they watch ours and everyone else's, and then they'd compare with all the stories,
Mm-hmm.
And they'd come to us and say, how come Danny got this? And I go, because Danny's got a checkbook.
Mm.
And sometimes I know Danny, by the end of the day, and he was on 3 times as much as what I was. At the end of the day, if he hasn't got something, he has to manufacture something. Even with an hour to go, he'll make a phone call to a club and go, I need this, this, this. And if the club would go no, he'd say, remember who's the right holders. Like we're probably more or less paying your wage in a way.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. And he would get the story. So it was always hard. And when you're working for a station that's that hasn't got the rights to something, you're always up against it. You're always playing second fiddle, and that makes it even harder, that you've got to try and make your story inventive when you haven't got things just handed to you, like the people, even with AFL, Channel 7, the rights holders, of course they're going to get the best interviews.
Did you find you'd find a lot of, I don't know, like everyone's like, oh, the media's telling us this and the media's telling us that. Like if you said like you're in journalism, would you get like this weird... I don't know, reaction from people? Like I feel like if something's been portrayed not honestly, everyone just hands on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And look, don't get me wrong. I think it's some shit journalism.
Yeah.
Even right now, it's like fake news. It really is, and it's. I look at some of the bulletins now. I can't help but not look, and then I go, oh, God, that was a shit story. Like what?
And they're just doing it for the clicks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's funny when you talk about clicks. I mean, when I came back from 10 to come back to Newcastle, I thought I'll get back into carpet lane a little bit, but I'll just keep my eye in. And so I did a bit of work for News Limited. I was writing for the Daily Telegraph. They knew I was back in Newcastle, and I did a bit of work for them for a big story when I was in Sydney. And they said, oh, we just want you to write some local stories in the paper. I said, this is all right, yeah. You can work from home. I said, perfect, And I was only living in King Street at the time, and but they kept on sending me to court, doing court stories, and I hate court. You got to think. You make a mistake. You're sitting in a courtroom, and you go, if you miss an important element, and you write something, and this case gets thrown out, you're in a lot of trouble. So there's sometimes you get there and you know what court's like. You could sit there all day and nothing happens. You know, the case gets adjourned, and because someone's sick or someone doesn't turn up, and then you're ringing up the editor at 3 o'clock going, "What do I write?" Like nothing happened. You know, they said, "No worries, Michael, don't panic. Just rewrite the original story when the lady stabbed the man to death 40 times. We'll put a different headline on it. People will think it's a different story to that, and they will click." And I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, everybody loves court and crime. We get the most subscriptions from court and crime."
Really?
Yeah, and that's why they were sending me to court all the time. Because I'm going, "There's great stories around here. Don't worry about that. We won't get as many subscriptions." And that was the day when they said that. I actually said to him, I said, "This is not journalism. This is trickery." And that was the day I quit.
But that's really interesting. But is it like, who's to blame? Because if the audience keeps kind of reading about this just court stuff, and you're like, there's really good stories out here that we could be telling.
Yeah.
Is it? But then the networks keep putting that out for the clicks, but people are watching it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's keeping a journalist in a job. You have to do what you have to do to keep your job. And I know even the Daily Telegraph, I know that there's, just say the sports department, every week they have a board meeting and all the journalists pile in, and Buzz Rothfield will be at the end of the table, and he'll get up on the screen and he'll show, okay, Brent Reid, you had the most clicks for your rugby league stories. Next is Bulldog Richie, you had the next best, and blah, blah, blah. And the first, so especially the Daily Telegraph, it was like the first 4 or 5 would be NRL.
Yeah.
And then there's a journalist that was working there, and he loved basketball. And he used to do basketball stories, the NBL stories. Really good journalist too. And he'd be down the bottom. And Buzz would look at him and say, "Mate," I'll do his voice, "Mate, you're last again. I suggest you start doing some rugby league stories to get up the ladder." And it's sad because the sport of basketball misses out because the clicks aren't there.
Yeah.
So this guy's got to sort of design his focus on a different sport in a way to keep his job, because if that keeps up, he's not going to stay there.
Who could you say is to blame in that scenario? Because if people aren't reading it,
well,
but then you're saying the media's like, if he's been told to do that too, so it's like, is it coming from the media? Or is it coming from the people?
Well, it's coming from the top. At the end of the day, it's the bean counters. It's about making money.
Yeah,
it's about making money. So, and that's why you're seeing these stories that they're sensationalised, or that again clickbait. You're reading it, then you read into it and go, "Oh, that wasn't what I was expecting." You know, but it's just about getting to people to click on, and that's the sad thing about it. There's so many good stories, even just in Newcastle, that doesn't get credit because no one wants to chase them. And I think journalism on a whole, like you look at the Newcastle Herald is a great newspaper, but you can see it's just declining year after year. It's getting thinner and thinner, and less stories. And again, it's about the bean counters, because again, and I said this to one of the Herald journalists, I said, the biggest problem was years ago, you started getting people like academics from universities and stuff like that to write opinion pieces, and they do it for nothing because they get their face on and they can show their colleagues, and it's just, and it's good profile for them.
Yeah.
But they're doing it for nothing. And the people that own the paper are going, it's all about the ads, because that ads, make the money.
Yeah. With
a little bit of editorial, a bit of journalism thrown in sections.
But if no one's reading it, are they getting the ads?
Well, people still do, buy into it. But what I'm saying is that the bosses look at it and go, if we can get like 3 or 4 different people doing opinion pieces, that's filling the pages. That's all we want. To accompany the ads. Why do we need journalists for? So all of a sudden, they're getting redundancies. It's sad. Because there's Donna Page, who still works for the Newcastle Herald, one of the best investigative journalists there is. Joanne McCarthy, she was the one that did that, broke open the story with the Catholic Church. That would never have been mentioned if her journalism didn't bring that to light.
What would that be like for her to be having her name next to a story where it's like, because there's so much that just gets brought up and it's like it's because someone's put it out there.
Yeah,
That's a lot of pressure on someone.
I know.
Because
I don't think even to this day, it still troubles her.
Does it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because again, it's when you're on something like that. I mean, that started how, again, her words. I think she said her bosses came to her and said, "We want you to do a story on there's a enrollments in Catholic schools are going down each year. Can you do a story on why that's happening?" And
was that why? Was that why?
Well,
or was it just a coincidence?
Well, she made a few phone calls, and it was after two or three phone calls, it was really startling to her. They said, "Oh, it's probably because of the pedophile priests," and she's like, "What?" All of a sudden, she starts digging, and it's like these rivers of gold of stories. Well, that's not gold. I wouldn't call that gold, but you know. But all of a sudden, she opens up this can of worms, and she took it on board. To the point where it becomes you. And I did the same thing when I did a story for News Limited regarding grooming in women's soccer. And there's so much stuff that's still there that I couldn't report on, or people that come to you and say, and she would have done the same thing would have happened with Joanne, where people come to you and they want to tell you the story, but go, okay, let's go on the record. Oh yeah, but it might ruin my life if I do that. So what? Yeah, but we're nearly there. You know, let's do it. You know, and it's their prerogative to say no, but they want to tell somebody. And that's the brave ones that came forward. You think about it, the people that came forward. How many people didn't come forward? You know.
Well, but how many journalists don't come forward with the story? Like, how many would know a story and go, "I don't want to put my name next to that because then these people could come after me," or something like that?
Well, something like that. I mean, they did come after her. I mean, they really did, you know, they hounded her, credibility-wise and all that sort of stuff, which was very unfair.
Do they have to have some type of, like, insurance or something to, like, is there something that can protect them?
No, nothing to protect. I mean, look, I got death threats.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
From the grooming thing?
I did, yeah.
Really?
Yep. And because the thing was is that when I did the story, I was delving so deep, it was almost like I was uncovering all these other little scandals along the way, which it was almost like, I've got to put that to the side because I've got to focus on this story, but I could break this story, this story, this story, because the people that are involved with this are involved with that, and that. And they knew that I was getting too close to the Da Vinci Code. And there's a very powerful faction within that sport that want to keep things under wraps. And yeah, we got a bit out. I won an award. You know, we won the Sports Journalism Award. But it still wasn't enough. You know, there were so many other stories you could have went on with, but it just got scuttled because it was leading into the Women's World Cup in Australia. Football Australia got on the defensive. They were worried because sponsors might pull out, all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was a case of, no, this is all crap, you know. And I'd say, well, why don't you just have a look first before you say it's crap? Why so hasty? Mm-hmm. Or do you do know something? I don't know. Like, it's weird.
So, like, in that scenario, if there was to be a court case around this, could they use your stories or what you've got up in interviews and stuff as evidence, or is it disregarded?
No, absolutely. I mean, you look at even the Royal Commission that Joanne McCarthy went through with the Catholic Church. You know, her manuscripts were all in that.
They were.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And again, she was actually the great cog between, because a lot of people don't like talking to police. They get all worried that to a female journalist, they're more likely to talk to the journalist. So she was like getting all this information, obviously writing it, and it was giving the police a hand. She was practically...
She's like a public detective. They're solving the case by putting it out publicly.
Exactly. It's sort of like back in the day. I was talking to John Ewer, who's a former police detective in Newcastle, and he ended up becoming an assistant commissioner, retired now. But he said when he worked in Newcastle, he said, you know what, sometimes, he said, we're after a guy, he he bashed his ex-wife, and he was one of those. He was a shearer, so he came to Newcastle, saw his ex-wife, gave her a slapping around, and he was going to go back to the country. We'd probably never see him again. He said, so we quickly went to the, I think it was, back then it was 2KO, which is KOFM now, Triple M.
Yeah.
Went straight to them and said, this is the guy, description, everything like that. We caught him before he got to the end of Hunter Street because a taxi driver heard the report on the radio.
Really?
Yeah. So that stuff doesn't happen now because now whenever something happens, it's got to go to, because you have to do your rounds at the start of the morning when you're a journalist, you ring up the police, the duty officer, what happened overnight? Oh, yeah, something happened, but yeah, we can't tell you because it's got to come out through police media. So that has to go to Sydney, it's got to get done, and then you get the emails, usually about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's too late.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, a duty officer would probably go, yeah, this is what happened, And I used to get frustrated with the duty officers when they say that. And I said, mate, maybe if you tell me the information, we could help catch the crook. But again, sometimes everyone's worried these days in all walks of life, in every situation, where if they say something wrong, they're all worried it gets thrown out of court or gets misconstrued. So it's easier to say nothing than say something that could go wrong or pear-shaped.
And I guess like people getting cancelled nowadays too is making that be more of an issue. But just then when you said about we could help catch solve the crime essentially, how many journalists do you think have that intention back then, or were they still chasing the clicks, the views, the reads?
There was funny. There's a at Channel 10 we've there's a iconic journalist. Funnily enough, his name is Harry Potter. And, mate, he's got a mural in the newsroom, and he was a crime journalist, and again he's long past, but I was told about what he used to do. He used to take on the story like he was a detective.
Really?
Yeah.
Like the pins on the wall and the all the strings pointing back to the photos.
I'll tell you what, he's got a famous quote saying apparently a man got decapitated and in the street, and he said the headless man was found face down in the gutter. But yeah, he took it upon himself to do that. But that's another thing these days, is that to do a story like that, you've got to be pretty much 24/7. These days, an editor will want you to do 3 or 4 stories in a day, which means you've still got to do that. But unless you're a Joanne McCarthy or a big name, they're not going to give you the time
to just keep chasing that one.
To do that. It's almost like we're not going to go, what if we don't get anything for 3 weeks? I could have had you doing 10 or 12 stories a week.
Yeah.
So sometimes those big stories don't get touched because purely time restraints and the fact that there's less numbers in a newsroom than what there used to be. Because, again, there used to be an area where it was investigative journalism, where that was an area of the newsroom where that's all you did.
What's it going to look like when AI starts replacing all these jobs and people are just getting AI to write them, and then there's like small mistakes, and then all our history is now going to be like documented slightly wrong?
I think it's already happening, to be honest. Like, we got a few ads in the podcast, and I used to like writing ads because when I came back, I started doing a bit of stuff for small business, doing little stories and writing stuff, and I really enjoyed it because it makes you think. And then so we got a few ads for this podcast I'm doing, and someone said, "Oh, you should go into AI and do it." And I went, make an ad, a dynamic 30-second ad on a gym. Within 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's wild.
It had the music you needed. It had everything. And I'm thinking, God, if I was an advertising executive or someone that were trying to sell, that's all I'd be doing. Like, you wouldn't have to try and think. And it's, I don't know, I think it's important to think, because if you don't keep your brain active in work, it shuts down. And people are so reliant on it. Even last night there was a story on teachers that want more AI in the classrooms because they're so busy doing paperwork. And then these same teachers will probably be whinging that they're losing jobs because of AI down the track. Yeah. It's like you're starting your own decline.
But like we're all feeding into it. It's like I think we don't realise we're all going to be, by feeding into it, by keep using it, you're going to just make yourself redundant.
You know, someone said to me, because I'm obviously back on the tools laying carpet, they go, well, it's not going to replace you. Like you can't physically do the job. I said, yeah, no.
Until there's robots.
That's correct. I said, but it'll eat into the people that can buy the carpet for me to lay it, because they'll be losing their jobs and they won't have the money to buy the carpet. So I'll get less work. So it will affect me.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, where does it keep going?
Well, they reckon it's just 5% of capacity of what it can be.
Well, someone told me it's doubling every 6 months.
It's out of control. I mean, when you're on my podcast,
we were talking about it a bit.
We had a look at that
trailer,
that movie trailer,
yeah,
and had Matt Damon in it and all that sort of stuff. It was made in China, and you could tell it was. But you reckon in maybe even 2 years' time, you won't be able to recognise whether it's AI or not.
Crazy. And like your phone now, you can just get on Grok and do put an image up and type in what you want the image to do, and it would just do it all. Like you're just creating videos now instantly.
Yeah.
It's just the power. It's just wild.
But it's to the point even now where I used to get on Twitter, or now X, and you're watching videos all the time. I've actually probably stopped looking at X as much now with videos, because I'm looking at going, how do I know that's not real? How do I know that's not bullshit? So I'm not going to waste my time, because it might be real, but it might not be. So move on.
Yeah. I think it's just this massive thing that I don't think, if we keep going down this path, we're not going to be able to control it. It's wild. Like, I watched Her last night. Have you seen that with Joaquin Phoenix?
No.
It was made in 2013, and it's like like ChatGPT, and like you can sit and talk to it, and it just talks back, and it laughs and pauses, and it sounds like you're talking to a person, and it's basically the same thing, but like that wasn't around back then, and they've got it down to a T. Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's got the potential to start wars. You know, I mean, someone from a country going, oh wow, they've just launched a missile.
It's not the case,
and it's not the case. But they press the red button. All of a sudden, you've got something that started from nothing.
Yeah. But then like, how do we even know the media that we're consuming, if that's happening there or not too?
Yeah. It's going
to get to a point where it's like, don't come to this part of Australia because this is going on, and then you actually go there and it's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that's gone overseas to visit an area. I think it was in Italy or somewhere in Europe, where they got online. They said, wow, look at this waterfall. And they booked a trip, got over there.
Wasn't he there?
And it wasn't there. It was all bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how, I don't know, that's just a small part of it. But again, I think we're only, it's in its infancy.
Oh, yeah.
And that's scary. It's already making people are already adjusting to it.
Yeah.
And it's so, and again, it's like, I don't know where the jobs are going to go. Any person that has to answer a phone. I mean, even I booked a restaurant the other night.
It was all through AI.
It was a signal box down the road, and at first I was like, I'm not talking to a real person here, you know. But again, that's a person's job that would have been to answer that phone. It's not there anymore.
I remember even just when like Coles and stuff brought in all the self-serve checkouts, and everyone was like, "Oh, we're losing jobs," and you just go and doing it yourself. Yeah. And think about when that was a big thing, and then look at what's going on now.
Yeah, I still go to the one checkout. I'll still stand in line, and then someone, there's always one checkout lady or one employee that stands around the self-serve, that makes sure everything, which 9 times out of 10 stuffs up. You've got to call them over anyway. It's like, fucking just get on the register, and then and they come over and they want it. They say, "Come on, come through here." No, I don't want to. You start having an argument with these people.
Yeah,
it's like, no, I'm doing this so you keep your job. Like what?
Yeah,
it's like everything. It's like like you go to Bunnings. I go to Bunnings nearly every day to get something. And
every day.
Yeah. I'm not gonna.
who's there for the snags?
No, they don't do snags through the week.
No, okay.
No, I really want to lobby that though, because and this we can get into something. The snags, don't get me started on those snags because I'll blow up. Oh yeah, sometimes a guitar. I went there one day. They have one piece of bread. That's not a fucking sandwich. That's a wrap. Right?
It's a taco.
No, so,
the Australian
so
taco.
if you're going to have a proper sandwich, you need 2 sausages, slice them in half, or at least one.
There's a
slice them in
process.
half, and 2 pieces of bread.
Okay.
Right? Now guess what? How much is bread these days? Just fucking buy more bread. You're still making money from the thing. I don't know it's a charity.
The passion.
Come on, it's Anyway, but you get there at Bunnings and it's like there's one person at the checkout and there's one lady standing there just to check people's receipts as they walk out, and then so you stand in the line and everyone's just going, why can't you just get on another checkout and
open it up? Yeah.
So you get your stuff. She's watching you get the receipt, and then you walk past. You go, oh. Here's the receipt. You saw me get the receipt. Yeah. You don't need to fucking look at it.
Yeah.
It's just they're making jobs. Where were you in aisle 5 when I needed the shithouse roll? Remember when Bunnings first started? There was a cast of thousands.
People everywhere. You turn,
Now, oh my God,
Yeah. Oh, you got me in stitches with your snags.
Oh, mate. And I had a bit of trouble this last week too. My testicle got twice the size. There's a bit of story there too because
how's this come out of Bunnings?
I don't know. When you said snags, it's near me. So I've never been in a health fund.
Yeah.
And I always resisted. It costs a bit of money.
Do you put money into an account just in case of?
Yeah, I do, but I'm superstitious. So I always said, if I go into a health fund, I'm just going to turn to shit. Stuff will start happening.
It's like when you go to hospital, you haven't been in years, you go, then all of a sudden you're back there in a week.
Yep.
And then you're back there 2 weeks after.
So after I signed up, my partner, she was like, you've got to be, she's in a health fund. And I go, right, I'll join the health fund, And within a week, I lopped me end of my finger off nearly in a window at work. And then me nut grows, I was wearing tread on my right foot because I was leaning too far to the right because my nut had blown up that big. And so see what happened, I joined a health fund and look,
Issues.
Mate. So it is, boys, check your nuts too because it was a scary day.
Is it like a prostate thing? Or?
Well, that's what I thought. Well, it's just an infection, but I was worried because the first thing, you get on Dr. Google.
Oh, don't do that. You're dying in a couple of days.
Everything's cancer. Yeah. but again, it was like, you got to hurry up and get an ultrasound done, and then you got to get one on your groin, and get one on your bladder. And
how are you? You healthy?
I've got a small hernia.
Do you?
Yeah, you got that out of it as well. But yeah, on antibiotics, it's getting better now. But
that's good.
But geez, I tell you what, you shit yourself, especially when you think of those things, because again, cancer's so prevalent these days.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's
crazy.
Like you see these.
When you're younger, did you hear about heaps of people having cancer and dying?
No. But also too, when you're younger, you have a look back at those old days. Like the old BHP film clips when they're walking out of and you get the old crusty, narrator going, and the BHP, the boys are coming home to go to the pub before they go home, and you're looking at them, they're string beans. Yeah, there's no fat ones in them.
No,
and you go,
it's processed food. It's all the processed food. Fucking refined sugar.
But yeah, it's like a conveyor belt, and I suppose you get a medication, you're on chemo, all that sort of stuff. There's so many different medications all over the world. You've got people going to Mexico for different things and all that sort of stuff, and you go, well, why do they have to go there for? Why can't we have it here? So are we getting the best treatment, or are we getting the second, the one where the doctors are getting from the
money
from the pharmaceuticals? You know? And which is, you're playing with people's lives, What
do you think about that?
Well, I know some people that, that again,
because we're going a bit into the conspiracy space now.
Well, again, it's a lot of money getting made, and I've seen the chemo wards. I've been in there, being with other people, and it's like a conveyor belt. You go, oh, Jesus. Again, this is something that wasn't around back in the day. And you're sort of thinking, God, it's like next. And so is anyone trying to cure this thing, you know? Because it's like, I'm sure obviously they are, but it's almost like everybody, there's so many specialists, they're all getting something out of it, you know?
And it's like one of them things where, like, I was trying to get there's a guy in Newcastle that just sold his company for $502 million. Like, there's articles out there about that. But he cured a type of cancer, like it might be like a specific type of melanoma, and he sold the patent on how to cure it. And I wonder what they do with it.
Yeah.
Like, have they brought it to release it so everyone can get fixed straight away, or are they buying it to like not do nothing with it?
Yeah. Well, no, you hit the nail on the head. Again, you want to sort of, you want to know where it's gone and what's happening with it. Yeah. But again, you just open your pantry at home, you get a can of beans, and it's got all these different names that you can't even pronounce on the side. And you're sort of thinking, these things that are mixed in here, maybe there's one or two of these things that shouldn't be together that could react to it. How would you know? And
like back in the day, if we have beans, it was beans.
It was beans. Yeah.
None of the other shit.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too. When I went to France once, and it was a little village, and again, it was all these people that lived in this village. They're all happy, healthy. They're, eating fresh produce every day, and, they're not eating processed crap, and they're living great. And it's about life, we're only on this world for a short time. You might as well live as much as you can on it. But sadly, I mean, there's just so many people that are, falling off the face way too early.
And it's one of them things where like look at a whole food diet. I'm not a dietitian by no means, but like a whole food diet, if it's not a whole food, don't eat it.
No.
Like, just a simple thing. If I'm going to have meat, I have meat. I don't have this processed one that's got 20 other fucking things holding it together and all this shit in it.
Yeah.
Just eat the whole food. Eat the source of the food.
Yep.
Because like, you want orange juice, get it from an orange. You go and read the back of an orange juice thing. How many things are in it?
Yeah. But again, you go into the whole, what people can afford these days too.
Yeah.
It's like living at home. Again, when I was living by myself in King Street, I met my partner, who I'm still with to this day, and she came over and she's looking at the kitchen and she's going, "You ever fucking cooked in here?" And I went,
"No, I'm at Bunnings every day having snacks."
I said, "No, I don't believe I have." She went, "Why?" I said, "Because I can fucking see Derby Street from here. There'll be restaurants, but it's cheaper to go and have a meal than to cook for yourself because you're buying too much stuff." Yeah. But again, for the people that have got kids, and it's almost like, and again, we go into another realm where everyone wants everything, wants, and they can't go without their bloody phone devices and everything, or the internet and all that sort of stuff. But then they'll skimp on, I just go to Macca's or go to KFC or whatever, Or the people that whinge about, they'll go and they'll argue a point to save $5 somewhere, but then buy a $30 meal at Burger King or Hungry Jack's.
Yeah. It's just like everyone's like, where are your priorities?
Yeah.
It's like I used to work at a gym years ago, and I remember just signing people up, and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, $20 a week." I'm like, "Look, it's 4 coffees."
Yeah.
You probably don't bat an eyelid when you have 3 a day.
Yeah.
Like 4 over your whole week.
Yeah.
It's like, and this is for your health. Like,
I mean, just getting on gyms. What's going on with gyms?
What do you mean?
You go there and there's like females like taking selfies and video themselves and stuff like that.
Don't you do that?
Mate. They're all trying to get big bums. And it's like, remember the day when women goes, does my bum look big in this? Now they want their bums the size of like rear ends of a bus.
Times are changing.
But what happens when that changes and they've got to try and get that off?
Will it go that way?
I don't know. Well, things like everything, what's old is new again, and then it goes around.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't predict that one. I go to the gym to train. I don't go there to take selfies.
It's not like you haven't got the equipment to do this.
No.
It's funny. I was going regularly to the gym until I started doing the podcasting, and all of a sudden it was like it just stopped, and it's got, like you say, I haven't got time to do it. I know you should make time, but it's like you're starting to think about, after you finish one, you're starting to think about the next one and then the next one, and you know. I
can't not go to the gym. If I miss the gym for like a couple of days or a week, I'm not myself.
That's
completely not myself.
Yeah, yeah. I've got some stuff at home that I do, and I just like regularly, even just doing sit-ups or, you know, or push-ups and things like that, and just trying to
moving the body.
Do 5 or 10 more each day, you know. Yeah. But it's just sometimes, I'm laying carpet, so I'm lugging some heavy stuff.
You're moving. That's not easy.
But at the same time too, you're moving. You know, you're lifting different, like you're using different body parts to what some of the stuff you're targeting in the gym as well. You know, it was like the other day. It was yesterday. It was this big roll of carpet on my truck, and I'm just about to take it off and put it on my shoulder, and the customer comes out from nowhere and goes, "I'll give you a hand," you know, and it's about to drop on his head. I was like, "Mate, no, I don't need a hand." He's like, "No." You know, those people went, "No, I'll give you a hand, I'll give you a hand." I said, No. In the end, I just said, "Listen, fuck off," because you're going to hurt, you know.
What did he say?
He went, "Oh, so sorry," you know. So I had to take it upstairs and stuff like that. But I said to him, there's so many times where I'll be carrying something up a flight of stairs, and all of a sudden, like, well, the weight goes to my shoulder. What's going on? It's the person thinking he's helping me, lifting at the end, but it's putting all the weight on the front.
Yeah.
And I'll go, "Mate, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm just trying to help you." And I'll go, No, just let me do it. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know?
He's got a process.
Yeah. It's just funny, there's a 10-metre roller carpet, I can put on back.
Yeah.
There's a part at the top of your back where it's like a
carpet holder.
Like a seesaw. Yeah. There's that spot where it's a lightweight. It's a sweet spot where it just takes the weight and it doesn't feel heavy.
Light, yeah.
And again, you've got to be doing it for a while to do that. But I've nailed that bit.
Yeah. That's good. Mate, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for sitting down and having a chat with me. It's been great.
Oh, mate.
You've provided plenty laughs. Yeah. If people want to look at your other stuff, because you've got a great podcast too, and I mean, you've done a lot of great things. I wanted to get into it, but we didn't. But where can they find you?
Yeah, Incredible Lives with Cainey. It's on all all podcasts platforms and also on YouTube.
Awesome. You got all your socials, Instagram.
Yep.
Facebook.
Yep. Everything.
All that. Awesome. Cheers, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks,
you. Jye.